beforehand Desert Island Discs with Kirsty Young.
My castaway this week is the tenor Ian Bostridge. Regarded as one of the great leader singers of our time, he has delighted audiences in opera houses and concert halls the world over. But it wasn't a straightforward career choice. He started out as a historian and for years led two parallel lives, spending term time at Oxford writing about witchcraft and magic, whilst in the holidays throwing himself into operatic productions. Magic appeals to people in a way that is both mysterious and irrational, and so it is, he says, not so different to music. Ian Bostridge, it is a very curious combination. You're someone whose approach to work, obviously your academic work, had to be very thorough, very studied, and yet your approach to music, I suppose, has to be emotional. It has to be an emotional response that's not necessarily intellectualised and thought through.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, music is a sort of release for me, I think. I mean, I didn't have a musical education. I didn't study an instrument at school. I started music O-level but gave up after about 2 weeks, so I never learnt my key signatures or music theory and that sort of thing. And whatever I have picked up on the sort of theoretical side of music has come in bits and pieces through working.
So at the time that you were running these two lives in parallel then, did you feel that when you went to sing, in a way it was a wonderful escape from what you had to do every day?
It was a wonderful escape, but it was very stressful. I mean, it was very stressful performing because I hadn't really been trained to do it. I mean, I hadn't been trained even to cope technically with the demands of singing that much and singing in such an exposed way. And then going back to Oxford to be an academic again, that was stressful as well.
Was it a sort of schizophrenic existence?
Yes, I think it was. I felt embarrassed by it. I've found out since that people found it quite fascinating that I was doing these two different things, but I found it unsettling. Embarrassed
because you thought what your colleagues, your academic colleagues would judge you, would think you weren't serious?
Would think I wasn't serious, yeah. Which I don't, as I said, I don't actually think is true. I think they were actually much more generous and much more interested in that. And I think I'm just probably an anxious person, and I just wanted something to be anxious about. And then that probably fed beautifully into my anxious performances as a leader singer, because that's all about angst.
Was there a clear point then when music won out?
It was pretty clear, because I had a 3-year research fellowship to write a book. And in the vacation of that second year, I went to summer vacation. I went to Australia to rehearse a production of Midsummer Night's Dream with Baz Luhrmann, the film director, which we then took to the Edinburgh Festival, and it got a lot of press. And somebody somewhere picked that up and mentioned it to somebody, and it started to become clear where I was going. And I sat down with my academic mentor, who had supervised my thesis and was the head of my college. And we decided together that I'd cut down on the singing for the next year. I'd finish the book, and then from the autumn of 1995, I'd become a singer full time, and that's what I did. So I was 30.
To a degree, it sounds as though your hand was somewhat forced by the publicity surrounding that Baz Luhrmann production. If it hadn't been, do you think you might have been content to continue on the path of the two lives?
In the end, I don't think it would have been possible, and I think the crunch point would have come. I'm really grateful to Keith Thomas, who was this person who sorted it out for me, that we could sit down and we could finish it in an orderly way, because it meant I could write the book and feel that I achieved something that I wanted to achieve, and then I could move on to the next stage of my life.
Maybe a little more on the crunch point later. Tell us then about your first piece of music.
Well, the man singing this, Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau, is the reason, I suppose, there are lots of reasons I'm a singer, but he's my great inspiration as a singer. I first heard him singing on a record at school when I was 14 in a German lesson. And I became sort of totally obsessed as a teenager with German Lieder, and I listened to Fischer-Dieskau singing all the time because I found it a beautiful voice. I found it very engaging, and even when I didn't understand the words, I felt he was talking to me.
Das Wandern ist des Müllers Lust, das Wandern. Das Wandern ist des Müllers Lust, das Wandern. Das muss ein schlechter Müller sein, ihm niemals fiel das Wandern ein. Das Wandern, das Wandern, das Wandern, das Wandern. Vom Wasser haben wir's gelernt, vom Wasser. Vom Wasser haben wir's gelernt, vom Wasser. Das hat nicht Rast bei Tag und Nacht, die stets auf Wanderschaft bedacht. Das Wasser, das Wasser, das Wasser, das Wasser. Das sehen wir auch den Rädern ab, den Rädern. Das sehen wir auch den Rädern ab, den Rädern. Die gar nicht gerne stille stehen, die sich mein Tag nicht müde drehen. Die Räder, die Räder, die Räder, die Räder.
Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau singing Schubert's Das Wandern. You say he was your inspiration at quite a young age, Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau. Did you ever meet him?
Yes, I don't think you should meet your heroes too much. I mean, I haven't made friends with him. But he was very kind and very inspirational. I was just recording that piece, Die Schöne Müllerin, and Graham Johnson, the pianist on that project, took me to see Fischer-Dieskau, and he sort of sang in my face, nose to nose. That was his way of sort of inspiring me, really, and teaching me, and it was incredible, and obviously the most enormous thrill. Inspiring you, teaching you, terrifying you, I would imagine. No? I didn't feel... I don't know why I didn't feel terrified, but I didn't. And he was very charming, and he just couldn't believe how skinny I was and that I could make any noise. I mean, I didn't make that much noise. I still don't make that much noise, but he couldn't believe I could make any noise at all. We're getting ahead of ourselves. I want to find out about you as a little boy. You grew up in Streatham in South London. What was family life like as a little boy? In lots of ways, a very secure suburban life. I mean, my parents got divorced. I was sort of 10 or 11 when that started, but there was an incredible sense of sort of quiet security about living in suburban Streatham and having my friends round the corner and going to... I sang in the local church choir. I remember it as being quite idyllic in a way. Now, your great-grandfather, who I assume did you ever meet your great-grandfather? No. He had played for Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, and Millwall, eventually, which is like the most extraordinary... I mean, to go from playing for Millwall to being a leader singer, there couldn't be much of a great... And my father, when he came to hear me sing as a grown-up, there was a level of incomprehension, which... Was there any sporting prowess with regard to your performance on the field? No, my brother and I were both completely useless at all forms of sporting activity, and I think to my father and to my mother as well, who had been captain of the hockey team, it was a little bit mysterious how they had sort of managed to breed these degenerate children. We were singularly... I mean, maybe I shouldn't speak for my brother because maybe he was better than me, but I really was always in, Team 4, and I was always the last to be picked. And I hope you won't take this the wrong way, but you have something of a Peter Crouch build to you. You are that very sort of very, very tall and slim chap. I suppose I didn't eat enough. But my father was a big sporting type, and I was always weedy, basically. And your brother Mark is 5 years older than you. Yeah, 4.5, yeah. Were you close to each other? I mean, that is, at a young age, that is quite a significant age gap. We were very close to each other, and he was really an inspiration to me because he was so interested in history from a very early age. And he used to give me slide lectures on art history when I was little and set me exams. And he just really encouraged my interest in books and in history. And he also passed on the idea that knowledge should be handed down. Were you not lecturing on particle physics to your fellow students when you were